Three reasons why Gaddafi was defeated in Libyan War of 2011. The Libyan War of 2011 was an armed conflict in Libya which was fought between Libyan forces headed by Colonel Muammar Gaddafi and NATO-led coalition forces consisted mainly of France, USA, UK, Norway, Denmark and other NATO countries, supported by locally hired mercenary groups under the umbrella of United Nations Security Council. The war was preceded by agitation created in Zawiya on 8 August 2009, which was later spread to other main cities. Until February 2011, these protests turned into violent armed clashes with security forces. By hiring mercenaries and buying military officers and opposition leaders, Western powers established an interim government body, the National Transitional Council (NTC). From 19th March, NATO-led forces launched a series of large-scale intense air strikes on Gaddafi's forces to support rebels. These airstrikes continued until Gaddafi was killed on 20th October 2011. This was an open military and political intervention by Western powers to destroy the whole political, economic and administrative setup of Libya. Following are the three main reasons why Gaddafi was defeated. Number 1. Gaddafi was fighting for people who were not loyal to him. Throughout Gaddafi's tenure, ambitious social programs were launched in the areas of education, health, housing, public works, and subsidies for electricity and basic foodstuffs. These policies led to a substantial improvement in the living conditions of Libyans, from being one of the poorest countries in Africa in 1969 to being the continent's leader in its Human Development Index in 2011. But Libyan people, instead of praising and thanking Gaddafi for all the development and progress, they supported the enemies and helped them to destroy their developed and prospered nation. It was the main reason for Gaddafi's defeat. Libyan people not only helped enemies to defeat Gaddafi, they also hunted, chased, tortured, and brutally murdered their leader and his other family members. Number 2. Gaddafi failed to counter the propaganda or media war. After 2009, Libya became target of series of anti-Gaddafi Western propaganda. Western media groups had complete access inside Libya, and their newspapers, news channels, and other supported media groups were busy in presenting the false image of Libyan regime and were promoting hatred. Moreover, internet helped the Western powers to poison the minds of Libyan youth. A massive propaganda of false information was launched against Gaddafi's government. During the protest, Gaddafi was being portrayed as a tyrant, crushing and killing innocent civilians who were protesting for their basic rights and freedom. There were also reports from authorities that hallucinogenic drugs being mixed in various food items such as milk, juices, coffee, etc., which were causing a mass paranoid and violent behavior among the protesters. Rumors were spread that Gaddafi has hired large number of foreign mercenaries which are involved in mass killings, while reports suggested these were the foreign mercenaries sent for the support of rebel forces in Libya. Fake news such as the resignations, defections or arrests or killed by Gaddafi for not executing his orders etc. regarding important political and military officials of Gaddafi's government was spread, which speed up the real resignations and defections of many other members of the Gaddafi's regime. Spread of false information and other rumors also instigated tribal conflicts. Gaddafi's government proved inefficient to counter all this media propaganda on time, and when they realized the real situation, it was too late. Number 3. Gaddafi entered into conflict unprepared. The immediate cause of intervention by Western powers was a decision of Gaddafi, when in 2009, as being the president of the African Union, he suggested to the states of the African continent to switch to a new gold-based currency independent of the American dollar. The objective of this currency was to divert oil revenues towards the state-controlled funds rather than American banks. It was a very risky and bold decision which required a lot of planning and preparations, but Gaddafi took this decision without keeping in mind the possible outcomes of his decision, especially retaliation from the capitalist powers. Even when Arab Spring started and the leaders of the countries such as Egypt, Tunisia, who supported his idea, were being thrown out of the power, Gaddafi took measures only to tackle protests. He failed to foresee an armed rebellion in case of successful handling of protests. Even when he was dealing with militant groups, he failed to foresee a further large-scale military attack from Western powers. This shows complete failure of apprehending the consequences of the decisions that Gaddafi was taking. It means he committed the same mistake for at least four consecutive times, along with the other two mistakes we have already discussed, and then he paid the heavy price.